Hi, and thank you for joining me today. And today I'm going to be playing with Heart Eyes from Simple Stories. You'll see I'm actually using basil textured cardstock today for my base, and I'm going to create a background using my Nuvo Crystal Drops. This one is ebony black, and you can see I'm just drawing 3 lines down, and then I'm using an old store card to drag that paint across the cardstock. This is why I chose to use a textured cardstock, just to see the effect it had. Normally I would use a smooth cardstock when I'm creating layouts, but I wanted to have a play with something different today. So you can see I'm just creating 6 lines across the page using the Nuvo and smearing those across, and then I'll leave that to dry. Just adding a little bit more to that section. I just wanted a bit more. In fact, it gets covered with the photo anyway, but it's a great effect. It always reminds me of Heidi Swap when I do these black lines. So now that's dry and I've chosen my title from the foam stickers, which is Oh My Heart. I'm going to start matting the photo. So I'm using this beautiful red that's on the back of the heart paper to do that. This collection is actually a kit that my good friend Jackie Ashton and I have created to create a class called the Nest Box. And if you follow Hey Little Magpie, you'll know all about it. So we've created 6 classes and the kit, and you can just purchase, if you're international, you can just purchase the instructions for the classes, access to the Facebook group, and the cut files that Amelia Creates have created for it. If you're in the UK, you can still purchase the kit. And then now the classes are live, we've also started to work with the extras that we've got left over from the kit to create further layouts. So that's what this is. That's a long-winded way of saying it, but I'll leave all the links below so that you can have a look if you're interested in that class. So I'm just pulling out some bits from the ephemera pack now to see what else I can add to this. I've pulled out the XOXO and the number 4 because James is stacking up 4 Coke cans. He was obsessed with this for about a month or so. This was just before his 2nd birthday, and he found his dad's Coke cans and just thought it was a brilliant game. So you can see I started to punch some half circles using my 2-inch circle punch there, but this paper has words on it. I wasn't happy that the words were upside down. They were too legible. Sometimes with typefaced paper like this, you can't really read what it says, so it doesn't matter if it's upside down, but it really did bother me. So you can see I've just cut a strip of the paper off, and now I'm punching half circles and making sure that they're not the same size, because I like that up and down look, and just slotting them underneath that photo to see how they lay there. I'm really happy with the look of that, and you can see I've been focusing on the oranges, reds and blues to create this layout, the colours and the red of course in the title, and also because the Coke cans are red. So I've just grabbed a scrap of white cardstock to stick these scallops down to, because it's going to be like a scallop border, just to make it easier to move it around and get it in the right position without having to move each piece individually. So that's a great tip if you're creating a border like this or creating a section of something like this. Just use a scrap to stick them down to so that you can move them around as one piece. You'll have seen me doing that with my photo mats. So just trimming off the excess and then having a look to see how that looks. I'm just starting to build things up. That Love You is a Flair badge from Hey Little Magpie, which has been designed to coordinate with this collection. And the orange heart is one of the JD 3D print hearts that comes with the titles that he creates. So these 2 tags are both from the tag sheet. So the pattern paper, so I just cut those out and they will go beneath the photo. So just sticking that border onto that photo now. And then I can get these tags situated. And as you can see, that photo completely covers where I added more of the Nuvo Crystal Drops. Typical. So I decided to trim some of the bottom of these tags off because it's going to be tucked under anyway. And they're quite nice ledger and graph paper, so I thought they might come in handy at a future date. So just chopping those bits off. And you can see, you couldn't tell. So now coming in with a tab punch to add a tab to the top of the photo. And indeed, I did use a piece of that offcut of the tag. Just deciding whether I want the red or the graph, but I decided to go with the graph. So just using my fingernails to rough it up. It's a cream colour and it doesn't really stand out that much against the white, so I'm just contemplating what to do when I put it there. And I decided that to add a few more layers behind it just to make it pop a little bit. So first of all, that orange paper, it's floral, but you can't really see the florals. It just adds, like I say, it adds something for the tab to stand against up there. But it looks a little bit lonesome. I definitely need to add something else there. So first of all, playing with one of those circles that I punched out that was upside down, because of course it's the right way around if I put it this way. Just roughing up the edges. And then that will be added to the top there. So just gluing this down now so I can work out what else to add. And I find this black and grey dot, I absolutely adore this paper. I used it in all my classes. I've just got scraps left now. So just adding a tiny bit at the top there. All these tiny little layers just add a little bit more interest to the photo, bringing in more colours. And I like how that looks. So now building this little piece back up again, adding that circle, and then I'm going to look to see what else I've got. First of all, I think I'm going to use that Love You badge, but it's orange on orange, so I decide against that. So I'll add the tags at the bottom and come back to it in a minute. So just gluing those in place. I'll get this one. I don't know how, but I managed to turn it upside down when I stick it down. But I realise when I flip it back that it's the wrong way around. So that's it. Now I can build this cluster at the bottom here. Still not quite sure where to put that JD3D print heart. So decide to glue the whole mat down so that I can make a definitive decision on where they're going without having to move them again to get that mat stuck down. So just using my T-square ruler to check that it's all straight. Not easy when you've offset the mat behind the photo, but get there in the end. So I think I'm getting fed up with myself at this point, moving all these bits and pieces around and around, deciding where on earth they're going to go. So decide to pop my title down, snug against the photo, and then the heart a little bit further over so I can fit that cluster in, bottom left-hand corner of the photo. Again, using my T-square ruler just to check that that's straight. I didn't feel like it was quite straight, so I'm pleased that I did check that. It would have driven me insane. And now I can start to glue these bits down. So I know that XOXO I want to put on top of that scalloped border that I created. And then the 4 sits neatly on the corner of the photo there. So I use the Flair to pop it up a tiny bit. And then I'm going to add a bit of foam just to make it all square on the layout. And I like that because it raises it up above the other bits that I've got there. I don't bother gluing that left-hand corner down onto the Flair, there's no need, it sits neatly there. So now adding this heart, I decide it's going to go to the left of the XOXO. And it does come up again in a minute because I see this little charm that was in the kit that Jackie and I created. And I decide that I want to tie that onto the heart. So just using some red wax thread here to tie through the charm, and then I'll wrap it around the heart and have it just dangling ever so slightly down below that heart. So just wrapping each thread around and around and then just tying a knot at the top. That's what I'm doing here. And then it's a case of making sure that the charm's facing the right way around when I stick it down. So just stick it down and then cut the tails of that thread off. There we go. And you can see where I've put my scissors there. I've got a little collection of tickets and hearts that I've cut from the pattern papers. So I'll be using those shortly to embellish. That fave Flair is from the Hey Little Magpie Flair badges as well. And I've used that, and I'm going to journal on the tag underneath it, just to say that it was his favourite thing to do at that age. And then I'm adding one of the tickets as well. This is just a half ticket that I cut from the paper, just scuffing up the edges and just nestling that into that little group there. And it fits really nicely, and it's nice to have the blue up there as well with all that orange and red. So now having a look at the sticker sheet to see if there's anything, and just find a tiny little pink sticker that says Cherish. So I'll nestle that in underneath the XOXO, it just fits neatly in there. And now the thread that was in the kit that Jackie and I made, this lovely pink embroidery thread, I'm just threading that through the 2 tags and leaving it to hang at the bottom of the page. I'll just add a tiny bit of glue underneath that left-hand tag just to tack it down. Just trimming off the excess. And there's that glue that I mentioned. And it just holds it neatly in place. It doesn't need to be stuck down completely. The tails still roam free, but there's nothing that they're going to cover up when they're in the page protector. So next I want to add this wood button. Again, it's something that was in the kit. So just using the offcut from that pink thread to stitch through the holes and then gluing that down. And I love that little cluster that I've got going there. So here's one of those hearts that I mentioned that I'd cut from the pattern paper. So just nestling that underneath that orange heart there. Almost done now. Just adding my journaling at the top, and the journaling just reads, "You just love stuck in Coke cans, fave toy at the moment." So now coming in with my red Nuvo Crystal Drops. At first I think I'm going to leave these as stripes, but I don't really like the way it looks, so I'll do exactly the same method as I did with the black, and I'm just going to smear this out, this time just using a metal palette knife. It was just something that I grabbed. You could use the store card or some Perspex, anything like that that you've got to hand. So adding some dots around the page just to bring that red in a little bit more. These Nuvo Crystal Drops are absolutely brilliant. I love them. So here I am just smearing. So each time I smear a line and then wipe off the excess of the palette knife. And I love how that just adds a touch of red without being too much red. And it was great on this line because I'd really messed up the straightness. It was very wonky. But of course, smearing it out, you can manipulate it to where you want it to go. So last piece here. And then I decided I do still want some lines on there, so I come back in with the black and just add some stripes. And I love how this turns out. So just adding them on top of the red, and then I do add an extra one towards the top there. And I think I'm in a more is more phase at the moment, because when I've finished this, I could have stopped here, and I think the layout looks beautiful like that, but I just wanted to come in with the stamps that we put in the kit, and the little plus signs that are on those stamps are great for adding just a little bit more black around the page, a little bit more scattering if you like. But once I do these, that really is it. So thank you so much for joining me. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. If you would like to subscribe to my channel to see the videos that I put out 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday, I would absolutely love to have you here. If you've got any questions or comments, please do leave them down below. I'm always happy to have a chat in the comments section, answer any questions you might have if I can. Other than that, I shall see you again very soon. Thank you so much. Bye.